The government of Japan is the central government of Japan. The government of Japan consists of legislature, executive and judiciary branches and is based on popular sovereignty. The government runs under the framework established by the Constitution of Japan. Adopted in 1947, it is a unitary state, containing 47 administrative divisions, with the emperor as its head of state. His role is ceremonial and he has no powers related to government. Instead, it is the cabinet, comprising the ministers of state and the prime minister, that directs and controls the government and the civil service. The cabinet has the executive power and is formed by the prime minister, who is the head of government. He is designated by the National Diet and appointed to office by the emperor. The National Diet is the legislature, the organ of the legislative branch. It is bicameral, consisting of two houses with the House of Councillors being the upper house, and the House of Representatives being the lower house. Its members are directly elected by the people, who are the source of sovereignty. It is defined as the supreme organ of sovereignty in the Constitution. The Supreme Court and other inferior courts make up the judicial branch and have all the judicial powers in the state. It has ultimate judicial authority to interpret the Japanese constitution and the power of judicial review. They are independent from the executive and the legislative branches. Judges are designated or appointed by the cabinet and never removed by the executive and the legislature except during impeachment. Prior to the Meiji Restoration, Japan was ruled by the government of a successive military shoguns. During this period, effective power of the government resided in the shogun, who officially ruled the country in the name of the emperor. The shoguns were the hereditary military governors, with their modern rank equivalent to a generalissimo. Although the emperor was the sovereign who appointed the shogun, his roles were ceremonial and he took no part in governing the country. This is often compared to the present role of the emperor, whose official role is to appoint the prime minister. The Meiji Restoration in 1872 led to the resignation of Shogun Tokugawa Yoshinobu, agreeing to be the instrument for carrying out the emperor's orders. This event restored the country to imperial rule and the proclamation of the Empire of Japan. In 1889, the Meiji Constitution was adopted in a move to strengthen Japan to the level of Western nations, resulting in the first parliamentary system in Asia. It provided a form of mixed constitutional absolute monarchy, with an independent judiciary, based on the Prussian model of the time. A new aristocracy known as the Kazoku was established. It merged the ancient court nobility of the Heian period, the Kuge, and the former daimyos, feudal lords subordinate to the shogun. It also established the imperial diet, consisting of the House of Representatives and the House of Peers. Members of the House of Peers were made up of the imperial family, the Kazoku, and those nominated by the emperor, while members of the House of Representatives were elected by direct male suffrage. Despite clear distinctions between powers of the executive branch and the emperor in the Meiji Constitution, ambiguity and contradictions in the constitution eventually led to a political crisis. It also devalued the notion of civilian control over the military, which meant that the military could develop and exercise a great influence on politics. Following the end of World War II, the present Constitution of Japan was adopted. It replaced the previous imperial rule with a form of Western-style liberal democracy. As of 2020, the Japan Research Institute found the national government is mostly analog, because only 7.5% administrative procedures can be completed entirely online. The rate is 7.8% at the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, 8% at the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, and only 1.3% at the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. On the 12th of February, 2021, Tetsushi Sakamoto was appointed as the Minister of Loneliness to alleviate social isolation and loneliness across different age groups and genders. The Emperor of Japan is the head of the imperial family and the ceremonial head of state. He is defined by the Constitution to be the symbol of the state and of the unity of the people. However, he is not the nominal chief executive and he possesses only certain ceremonially important powers. He has no real powers related to the government as stated clearly in Article 4 of the Constitution. Article 6 of the Constitution of Japan delegates the Emperor the following ceremonial roles. While the cabinet is the source of executive power and most of its power is exercised directly by the Prime Minister, several of its powers are exercised by the Emperor. The powers exercised via the Emperor, as stipulated by Article 7,